Okay, we're just waiting a few moments to make sure that we've got everybody on. So hopefully everybody is on. And welcome to the CIFST Food Cluster. Okay, we've got some great information for you. And could we go to Philip? Could you move it to the next slide, if you wouldn't mind? Okay, introductions. Okay, so I'll like to introduce myself. My name is Louis Ayot. I am the president of the CIFST, the Canadian Institute of Food and Science Technology. I have been a business-to-business food ingredient salesperson for over 30 years and have never, I mean never, been as excited as I am about with regards to the announcement that the creation of the CIFST Food Cluster. You will learn through this presentation what is required for proposal submissions. So I will let Constance and Philip introduce themselves. Constance, can we start with you?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Some of you may know me. I'm Constance Wrigley-Thomas. I am the Executive Director of the Canadian Institute of Food Science and Technology, and I'm also involved as one of the participants with the CIFST Food Cluster. Over to you, Philip.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Philip Lewing. I am the Science Director for the newly formed CIFST Food Cluster. I also was the past president of CFST a few years ago, and so I have a strong tie with CFST and its members, as well as researchers, academia, and government also too. So today we just want to spend some time to answer some of your questions concerning the CFST Food Cluster. It is a new food cluster for us, and I want you to be very, generous with respect to your patience with us here, because we're learning also too. But we feel that this is a fantastic initiative here, working with you all in terms of looking at proposals, making sure that we get it right. That in the end, we want everyone to be successful here with respect to the proposal. So let's jump in. Well, there are a few things here that before I opened up to question and answers, we want to make sure that one, within your proposal, I know some of you, I have a list of the participants here, and most of you are from AFC, universities, throughout Canada, so welcome. And we just want to make sure that, and you have lots of experience with this in the past, I'm sure, with respect to proposal applications and things like that. There are only a few things that I just want to focus on. So make sure that with respect to your proposals, there's a strong science methodology involved in here. So I know we're dealing with food, and sometimes with respect to food, we said that we'll do some plant trials or do some product development, but there should be a strong science methodology behind what you're doing. I know there will be some questions with respect to budget, but I just want to focus on the three priorities that we're focusing on this year. The first one definitely deals with the climate, as well as specifically greenhouse gas emissions here. The second one deals with respect to economic development. And the third one, of course, deals with respect to looking at sectors, in terms of resiliencies within your sectors here. So again, with respect to the budget specifically, a 30-70 split is allocated towards proposals that deal with the greenhouse gas emissions. So all other proposals are a 50-50 split. What I mean by 50-50 split, of course, this is an industry-led initiative here. So we're looking for participation from industry, and we're looking for it's dollars and cents here. 50% of the total project will be the contribution will be from either industry or research partners here that you're dealing with. With respect to, there was a question from someone with respect to the greenhouse gas emissions here. Now, we have to be specific here with greenhouse gas emissions. How is it being measured here? And it cannot be just a description of, yes, I plan to measure it, but how is it measurable, and what are the key performance indicators here? What else can I ask you? I'd like to open up, instead of talking a little bit about the proposals right now, I'd like to open it up early to you so you can start asking some of these questions, because time is just flying as we go along here. So let's open it up. Constance, help me in terms of seeing what type of questions come in here to us, if any.
We haven't received any yet. We've invited everybody to submit their questions in the Q&A box, which you will find at the bottom of your page. Also to support what Philip was talking about in terms of the priority areas for the proposals, I've put a link to that in the chat box as well. Right.
There has been some questions with respect to the short timeline here. Unfortunately, CIFST, put forward our application just recently. And so therefore we have some very, very aggressive timelines here. And the timelines for you for a full proposal that we should receive is October the 17th. And we have to be firm on that, because we then have to collect all this information and condense it and send it to AFC for approval. And so that's why we have this firm timeline here. There was a second question with respect to, can I submit a proposal next year? Well, unfortunately, the deadline for this program with AFC is, I believe, is in February 2023. So we have, once that deadline has passed, we don't have an opportunity to submit any more proposals again, and we have to wait another 5 years. So this is a 5-year phenomenon here that we are addressing here. I think Louis has, and I think Louis has been in discussion with Constance with respect to doing something very interesting for researchers. And we are in the progress of talking about it right now, and maybe we can get your feedback whether if you think this is a good idea. So I'll pass it on to Louis. I'm probably putting you on the spot right now, but I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Actually, can I just suggest we do have some questions from the audience.
Okay.
So I'd like to maybe if we can get some responses to that. So we have looks like we've got five or six questions. All right.
Okay,
first
sure.
of all,
Absolutely.
And Christine has asked us 2 questions actually. So thank you for clearing the budget for 50/50. And of course that applies to 2 of the priority areas. I think she's asking about the one related to climate change. Can you clarify the 30/70 budget? So the 30/70 split for the climate change priority area, Philip.
Okay. I believe with respect to the 30/70, it's 30% if you're dealing specifically with respect to gas house emission. But if you're dealing with anything else outside of that, that is climate change related, it does not fall within the 30%. It falls within the 50%. I believe Steve Chui is in on this call, or maybe I need to get a little bit more clarification if Patricia Paulton is there. Maybe she can help me clarify this here, but that's to the best of my understanding here. Either Steve or Patricia can help me clarify this.
And if I can just suggest that, oh, sorry, there's Steve. Good.
Okay, there's Steve.
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, for the environment issues, anything related to environment, you have a close link with the environment. AFC will match by 70%. All the others is we're talking about 50% match. I'm not sure if that's clear enough. Yeah.
And what I can suggest as well is that all of the questions that we do have been asked today, if we don't answer them completely on today's call, we will put together a Q&A or a frequently asked questions, I guess, in a document, and we'll upload it to our website, and you will be notified of that. Another question that Christine has asked, and actually, Steve, perhaps since you're on the call, you can help answer this. Can Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada be a partner in the proposal?
The answer to this question is yes, definitely yes. Actually, AFC encourage our scientists to get involved with the proposal, so can be a lead for the activities. You are actually the scientific lead. So yeah, very much encouraged.
Okay, good, thank you. So we have a question is, what is the total funding amount?
Per project, I would assume.
Yes, I think they're referring per project.
That's a good question. Well, the total funding from AFC for our cluster here will not exceed 15 million, and it will not, so it will not exceed 15 million. That's a good question. Maybe Steve can help me with this one here. What's the max you can go on your proposal?
Yes,
budget?
well, that's a question. Depends on how successful the project will be accepted by AFC. So if we're talking about a maximum of 15 million from AFC, probably about another 10 million from industry. So the real maximum is about 25 million. Yeah, the minimum amount for a cluster to be called a cluster is 5 million. So the total budget is between 5 to 25 million. So which will be very much depends on how successful of the individual project. In this case, I think it's a good like a bulk estimate here now. If you target a project, reasonably sized project, if you think about $200,000 a year with 5 years, so you're talking about $1 million project for, and if you have the right like activities, deliverables, and match it with the resources you needed. So I think it's going to be very much depend on the objectives, the deliverables of your project.
Okay, so we'll move on
Thanks,
to the next question. Thank you for all the questions, by the way, they're great.
I should, Constance, I should add to that too. The time frame. This is over 5 years in terms of something like if you're applying, if you want to maximize your budget here, we're looking at over a 5-year period of time. Yes.
Correct. So Brad McKay has asked a really interesting question. I'm not sure we can answer this, Brad. We'll do our best. Can you describe an ideal or typical proposal? I'm not sure that's something that we can answer. Steve might have some insights into this because it's obviously perhaps more in AAFC's bailiwick. Anybody have any comments on that? Steve, maybe?
Philip, you could use one of the project we discussed in the past as an example. I think that would be a good one.
Oh, well, a typical proposal could be working with a supplier of, let's say, plant-based proteins, and using a specific technique, let's say high pressure processing, to modify the functionality of these proteins. So the proposal might include the collection of the proteins, probably the extraction or purification of the protein, combining, looking at what other competitive proteins are there. Then, putting these proteins under different conditions in using high pressure processing, and then testing the end result. End results could be solubility, change in viscosity. It could be changing any type of rheological properties here. Why is that important? Because the bottom line is that you then match those functionality that has been modified with the finished product that you're looking for. Let's say you want to look for increased protein concentration in a beverage. Well, you'll be interested in terms of increased solubility. You'll be interested in terms of particle size. You're looking at color, taste, and things like that. And all these things are, of course, related to starting from the plant directly down to the processing staff, what type of modifications are being done, and the end product, which could be, let's say, if you're making yogurt, you're looking for emulsion stability, you're looking for things like in mouthfeel again and taste. So Brad, to answer your question, this is an example of the type of where there are different stakeholders involved here. So the protein suppliers involved here, Ag Canada is involved here with respect to some of the equipment they use, which is high pressure processing. Ag Canada is also involved with using rheometers, using GC mass spec to do some profiling, as well as benchtop work in terms of finished product applications, and then some consumer testing. So the full gamut here, starting from the supplier right down to the end. I hope that answered your question there, Brad.
All right, next question. If the exact industry contribution is not confirmed or not reaching 50%, can I still submit my proposal? And I'm going to suggest maybe Steve may want to jump in on that one.
Okay. Well, Annie, that's a question I think many of our AFC scientists may get involved. Well, I think I would suggest you still submit the proposal because CIFST is a unique organization. It has a very close relationship with many food industries. So there are many members might be interested in some of the projects. So I think even you don't have enough, I think it would be encouraged to submit. And then when you come back to the budget, and if there's a help from CIFST, that would be perfect. Even not, then there will be a discussions among the CIFST, like at the science advisory board to make a decision. Sometimes other projects may have more industry support, which could be, the shortfall from your project could be kind of balanced. So I would, still strongly suggest you to submit your proposal.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so does the researcher for example, AAFC researcher, or the industry partner submit the proposal to CIFST? So who would be the lead on submitting the proposal? Or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Just whoever is on the proposal that is the lead is the one that submits it. Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
One thing I might add to that, though, it might be easier if it's an AAFC researcher that adds it, because they're familiar with the proposal template. It might go a lot quicker for them to put it in rather than have industry sort of learn how to do it and put it in.
okay. Do the industry funds have to be fully confirmed by the deadline, or can they be pending? That's an interesting question. Yes. Can we follow up with confirmation after the submission? So again, I don't know if Philip, you want to take this one, or Steve, if you want to respond to it.
Okay, this has been an extensive discussion I've had with AFC, with Nathan, with respect to funding. The industry portion needs to be confirmed that for a letter of confirmation stating that yes, I agree to this 50% part here. Now, because it's a 5-year, for instance, if it's a 5-year proposal, then the first year, that portion can be submitted of that 5 years will be submitted at the either beginning of the project or at the end of the project. It's at the discretion of the cluster itself. But however, a letter of stating that yes, industry has agreed to participate in this and agreed to be involved in the 50% here must be upfront. Yes. I hope that answered the question a bit.
And again, we'll compile all these questions and provide some written responses in a document, a frequently asked question document that will hopefully help all of you. I should also mention we are recording this, so we will have the recordings available afterwards as well. So how would the budget go if the collaborators are from industry, AAFC, and university?
The in-kind can come in at about 10%, but the majority of the funding, if university has money to contribute to it, of course, that'll be fine. But I assume that most of the funding is coming from industry. So industries, portion of that will be 50%. But again, in-kind will be 10% of that year. So it then becomes 40% of the contribution here. So in-kind can come in from either industry or from academia or other researchers.
And I think this is, oh, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I just added to what Philip just said. So for the budget for different participants from industry, university, and from AFC. So the money, if it is coming from the part of AFC, it will be a vote 1 money for AFC scientists, vote 10 for industry and the university. And if the money is a contribution from industry, it's going to be covered by the CRDA quota. So the money can go to either industry, university, or AFC scientist.
Steve, just for the benefit of everybody on the call, CRDA or CRADA, what does the acronym stand for again?
It's a collaborative research and development agreement.
Okay, thank you. I think actually there's a couple of questions here, or actually 3 questions. I'll just read them all off, and I think you may have already answered these, but first question, is it mandatory to have a 50% industry contribution, or is it encouraged as it is written in the additional funding? And then there's another question related to that. Does the 50% need to be cash contribution, or can this be in kind?
The 50% will be in cash contribution, but out of that 50%, I mentioned that there's a 10% that will be in kind.
Okay, and then Christine actually asked another question. She had asked a question earlier about the 30-70% split. And I think she just wants to find out, is the 30% the industry, or is it the 70%? So I think if we can get a response to that. So how does that 30-70% split work?
The 30% will be industry, the 70% will be AFC.
There you go. Okay, so we don't have any more questions right now. I'm just keeping an eye on the time. It's almost 12:30. Is there any more questions that anybody wants to contribute? Oh, here we have one. Thank you, Brad. For the greenhouse gas projects, can the 30% be 10% in kind and 20% cash?
Steve, can't you help me with this one?
I think that's a yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Steve. All right, just, perhaps have a couple more questions. I don't know if you want to, what we can do is just talk about the website and the fact we have a lot of information on there. We've got templates for the proposal itself. There's a template for budget. Yes, the timelines are very tight. We know that, but this is what we've been given, and this is what we have to work within. But again, we're here as resources. Philip and Steve and Louis can certainly provide some answers to anybody's questions. Oh, we have another question. Can we match funds from existing grants? Oh, yes, I know this question was going to come in. Can we match funds from existing grants, for example, from those from provincial funding organizations?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yes, that can be done. I guess you can call it stacking. So you can stack this fund above the other funds that you're going to get. So if you get some from regional, provincial, or other federal ones, you can stack this one on top of that.
But it should not exceed 85%.
Correct.
Okay. I'd like to get back to the question I posed before. We have the attention of the audience here. Steve mentioned that, well, the question was posed, if the research, if the proposal is not 50-50, can CIFST, will CIFST cluster accept it? And so a discussion we had a discussion with Louis here with respect to how can CIFST help researchers with respect to this. And Louis, I'll pass it back to you in terms of what we were discussing here.
Yeah, so I think what Philip sort of talked about a dating application. So it's close to a dating application. It would be to put you in contact with industry, so other industry players. We have a dialogue or a
discussion forum
that exists currently. It was brought on just before the pandemic. It really wasn't used during the pandemic because people, I guess, didn't really have time to discuss. And the reason for that was because they were looking, R&D people in companies, all that was trying to ensure that they had the right supply, that if they got new suppliers, you have to qualify the new suppliers. So they had a lot on their plate. Now that the pandemic is over and we've got this, maybe we can, remove the cobwebs on it, and maybe we could sort of ensure that it's more dynamic. So what we're thinking about, and we'll have to check to see if that's possible, if you have a one-page summary proposal, you could put it there and we could broadcast it out to our members. And if they're interested, then they can get into the dialogue and start a conversation with you to support you. So that's something that the CIFST can do, is we're going to try to link you up with industry partners. I've done it on people that know me, gave me a call and says, I need somebody in the packaging industry. Well, I happen to know somebody in the packaging industry. I put them together. So there's a lot of networking that we can do. And we're just trying to do it on a more, not formal, but more automated way, I guess is a way of putting it. So you don't have to go through me to get your answer. You can get it through somebody else. You can get it through industry. And yeah, she just put it up. Now, can they see all that you put down there, Constance, a little discussion that you put there?
It's just the link, Louis, but what I think, and this is very new, we've only just started discussing how we reapply
yes.
the functionality towards the cluster to create that opportunity for folks to enter into a dialogue and perhaps to facilitate matching with researchers and industry, et cetera. Now, I should mention, although we could open it up to non-members. Currently, this is only available to our membership. It's a membership benefit, but we could look at opening it up to anybody who wants to participate in discussions. So we'll be looking at that this afternoon, and then we'll be sending out notification to let you know. I have oh, sorry, go ahead.
And and with the tight deadline that we've got with regards to October 17th, we're going to call this speed dating. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So as Constance mentioned, we've got a few more questions, so we'll go to that.
Yes, so this is actually to respond to I think the comments earlier about stacking. So if you can stack national grants, would this contribute to the 50% industry contribution? So Philip or maybe Steve might want to take this one.
Well, I see this is a question from John. Hi, John. I think that's a question I think we need to get some clarifications from the program branch. They are actually making the guidelines. My gut feeling is the other government, federal government money will not be matched, but is encouraged to be staggered. So specifically for your question, I think CIFST will go to the program branch asking for any further information. Yeah.
So I guess, Stephen, I don't know if this might be sort of in line with that question that you just answered. Will the funds from provincial for provincial organizations be considered as the 50-50 matching contribution, or this is additional funds as these organizations are nonprofit? I'm not sure if that really, I'm just going to read that again. Will the funds from provincial organizations be considered as a 50-50 matching contribution, or maybe they meant to say, is this additional funds as these organizations are nonprofit? Not sure I'm following it, but does that make sense to do?
Yeah, to some extent, I think the provincial was kind of considered a non-federal money. So it's there's a likelihood, but again, without making any mistake, we need to further clarification.
Yeah, we should clarify this with AFC.
Okay, so we'll get responses out to address that particular question, as well as the other ones, of course. This is more a statement than a question, and I certainly feel your pain. But this summary proposal will be sent before October 17th. How can we get an industry confirmation before October 17th? Seems like a really tight deadline. Yeah, it is a very tight deadline. We are the first to acknowledge it. And unfortunately, we cannot change the deadline. So
that's where the dating app comes in.
All right, so I don't see any more questions. We're at 12:35. Philip or Louis or Steve, if you have any comments you want to make before we end this webinar. We do have another webinar next Friday at 12 noon in English, but we also have one at 10 o'clock next Friday, which will be en français. So other opportunities, again, we'll have a recording of this one. We will answer some of the questions, all of the questions rather. We'll try to consolidate some of the questions that have been repeated and provide a response to those and then post those on our website. Again, if you, I think Heidi, you had the slide up there with the website link, which you've probably all been on it, and it's got some really good information, including the templates for the budget and for the proposal itself.
Yeah, so I guess if I could sort of summarize things as this is a great opportunity for the food industry. The food industry in Canada has been slowly being shifted south of the border by mergers and acquisitions. I think this is a great opportunity for the Canadian food industry to sort of stand up and say, hey, we can be and we will be innovative. We will move the food industry forward. And I think this is a great way to do it. We apologize for the tight deadline, but we were just approached not too long ago ourselves. And we've been working at warp speed to be able to cross all the T's and dot all the I's to make sure that we can have all this information available for you. So again, thank you very much for your understanding. And if you have any questions or anything else, we will get back to you. We will, as Constance mentioned, we'll do the question and answer, frequently asked questions, send that out. And if Philip has anything to say, or if Steve has something to say, please do so. Oh,
and I have two more questions. So let's,
you did? Okay, well, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. John and Christine, thank you for your questions. Actually, Christine, I'm gonna answer your question about the speed dating. Just so you know, it is a discussion forum, and what we're going to do is we're going to be seeding it with some content. But can you invite industry to post their needs? Yes, that's a great question, and I think we can facilitate that. I think that again, this is something that pretty much happened today. So we're kind of like, as Louis mentioned, we're working at warp speed on a number of different fronts. So I think based on that, what we should do is open it up so that you don't have to be a member to access it, but you can post your needs as you've suggested, Christine. That's a great comment. John's got a couple of questions here. John Seven Piper, and can non-Canadian food industry providing cash be counted in the 50% contributions? And then he adds to that, or even if they have a Canadian distributor, the food comes from outside of Canada. So I'm going to throw that to Steve, if that's okay. Steve, are you able to respond to that?
Yes. I think that's a very interesting scenario. I think most likely is yes, but we need to talk for more details. So John, could we set up a meeting between us, the Philip, perhaps invite Dan in,
Yes.
and we can discuss this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and when we do have that discussion, we will put that information in the Q&As.
Yeah, and because like this is our first time going through this. I mean, this has come on very quickly. We're still, sort of trying to educate ourselves. We're not experts in food clusters. We're not experts in this whole process. We are learning very quickly, but we've got some excellent resources with AAFC, and they've been very generous in their time, and they're providing us with answers to questions. So, if we don't have the answer, it doesn't mean it's not available. It just means we have to go find it for you. So we will get perhaps a little bit more clarity and polish in some of these responses in the Q&A.
Yeah, and can we sort of add the Q&A to the link or the website that we've got set up?
No, that's the idea. Is we will produce, and it'll probably be we'll update. It'll be a consolidation of all the questions we've received in advance that have been responded to, and then as well questions we've received during this webinar, and also the ones we have next week. and we'll get it up onto the website as soon as possible. And thank you, anonymous attendee. Thank you for the webinar, very informative and helpful. I appreciate that. We all appreciate you all being here to support this endeavor, but also to ask some really great questions. They're important questions.
I'd just like to add that with respect to what Steve Tree said, even if you haven't reached that 50-50, please still submit a proposal. I mean, if it's 10-90, please don't. But if you're close to the 50-50, please submit your proposal. We'll look at it, and because this is our first cluster here, we might be able to go back to AFC and probably, I'm not sure if we can negotiate, but we'll see. But just don't give up with respect to submitting your proposals. That's all.
And what we could also do is we could maybe find a partner for you outside the speed dating, okay? Like I did on a few occasions. So we can do that also.
Don't overpromise there, Louis.
Well, we can try, right? Okay. If there are no further questions, do we still have some time? Are we still on the clock or what?
I think we're almost, I think we promised to 12:45, so let's give them back a couple more minutes of their lunchtime.
Okay, fine. Again,
thank you very much, all.
thank you very much. Take care.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Yes, bye-bye.